Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Today the Sikh Spectrum has come to Gaydon, at where the headquarters for Aston Martin. Behind me you can see the Aston Martin Vantage S in a chrome colour, and today you will not be disappointed. We're going to interview Balraj Singh and his role in Aston Martin. Today the Sikh Spectrum has come to Gaydon, to the Aston Martin Centre, and it gives me great pleasure to interview Balraj Singh, who works at Aston Martin, and we'll try to understand what his role is and some of the beautiful cars that they've got here. So Balraj, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Let's start by just asking you, give us a short profile about yourself.
Yes, of course. I was born in the UK, in West London. My parents were both born in India, although my dad moved to Nairobi in Kenya to work for about 4 years, and that was in 1956. And he decided to then move on to London because that's where the work was in his career, which was working as a carpenter. And about 2 or 3 years later, in '63, he brought my mum across. And that was really when our foundation was laid, that this is where we were going to set ourselves up. So that was actually in the Southall area of West London. And so that's where our background started.
So you went to school in Southall then? Your primary school, your secondary school?
Yes, I did, yeah. So all my education always in Southall, and that was probably, to be honest, the only place we ever knew. We grew up there. We almost, the only time you would go outside of that area was if there was a wedding or a function in Birmingham or somewhere else. But otherwise, our growing up was always in that one area. I've got 3 elder brothers and a younger sister, and we're all married with all kids, and we're all settled here in the UK. So I'm the only one who actually moved away from the London area because of work, but the others are still well settled in the West London area.
Okay, I mean, it's because I mentioned to you that you've still got a southern accent rather than having a northern accent. So when I first sort of spoke to you, what about, did you want to always go into mechanics of cars and so on?
To be honest, I think those who know me well from a very young age knew I always loved drawing. There wasn't a time where I didn't find myself with a pencil and a piece of paper to draw something. And one of the things I loved drawing was cars, and that was probably from the age of about 6, I think, as far as I can remember. And the sort of, I always wanted to be in a career which involved some level of engineering, some level of design. And for me, the job I now do, I really feel the job of my dreams. So I think it's true to say sometimes a young person can have a dream or an aspiration to achieve a goal in a career. And I, for one, I think I followed my dream, and so I'm happy in my job, basically.
Before you came to Aston Martin, you must have worked for some other companies, I assume.
Yes, I did. I actually left school at the age of 16 and went straight into an engineering apprenticeship. And the reason for that was I was keen to get into the world of work. I could have gone straight down to the college route or down to the sixth form and gone down straight into university, but I figured, I just grew up with this real work ethic that hard work gives results. So why not give it that approach? So from the age of 16, I started working, and the great benefit there was the fact that I was not only gaining valuable work experience, but also I was being paid, obviously, but ultimately I was also being sent to day release college to further my education. So, and that was also being paid for by my employer, which is something which is quite rare in this day and age, where a lot of young people need to pay for they need to take out student loans and whatever. And the great benefit for me there was by the time I'd finished my apprenticeship, I'd actually got my first mechanical and production degree, but also I actually didn't have a debt. You know, I had several years of work experience, and all I now needed to do was just progress onto my career.
Let's talk about some of the voluntary work that you're doing. So one of the organisations that you're an ambassador for is the STEM. What does that stand for, by the way?
Yeah, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering and Maths. So these are the sort of basis of any subjects that is seen that if any students have got that grounding in those subjects, that gives them the step to now go into another career. For example, it could be to work as an engineer or as a scientist or going into sales or marketing. It's surprising how many career paths you can actually springboard from that STEM base. So as an ambassador, our role is really to go to educational establishments and to help to mentor and inspire young people into the types of careers that are actually available in the wider world.
And I mean, so basically with that, you're going to schools, are you?
Yes,
and you give talks at schools or career advice or what?
It's the role actually started, in fact, soon after I joined the company. And it was quite funny because it was my daughter who went to a primary school, which was a Church of England school. And one day I went there to pick her up, and the headmaster approached me and said, you know, pal, I need to ask you a personal question. You know, we cover religious studies as part of our curriculum. Is there any possibility that you could turn up as the Sikh, you know, at the end of their Sikhism studies, so that we can do an open sort of question session for the kids to understand what it's like for a Sikh living in the UK today. And I said to him, can I have a think about it? And I was a little bit apprehensive, and after I had a chat with my wife about it, we realised, you know what, if we don't do these sort of things, how will young people learn? So I thought, no, let's do something. So I put a bit of a presentation together, and the event went so well. I never felt so heartwarmed in giving something to a group of young people, you know, where they had these big smiley faces. And I thought, wow, you know what, this is something very special. You know, we need to develop this. And I continued that role for a little while. So that was just more of a insight into what, you know, Sikhism about, you know, what the 5K stand for. And the brilliant thing for me was, you know, sometimes my parents would say, why have you moved in the middle of nowhere? The families are back here, you're on your own, and all this sort of thing. And here's me, like, going into this classroom, and all I could see was pictures of, like, Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh and the Khanda in a Church of England school. And it's great that, you know, young people can understand different cultures and religions, and I was there to talk to them about it.
No, I think we should encourage more of kids that have grown up in the UK like yourself to take those talks. You know, I've been doing for the last 5 years, I've taken the schools in my local area, and I think it's always disheartening when you see youngsters not coming up to take that role, taking half a day out of work to do that. That's really good. So is that what led you to join the STEM, to become the STEM ambassador?
It was, yeah, to be honest, the Sikh presentation thing went on for a while because the word got out. They said, look, there's a chap, you know, he does this work, and there's another school said, oh, could you come to our school? And I'm thinking, well, hang on, there's only so much of me can go around here. And the problem was I was working full time, and generally in the automotive industry we tend to work a 4.5 day week, so we normally finish at Friday lunchtime. And it was on one occasion where I was late picking up my daughter and happened to wear my Aston Martin polo shirt, and the headmaster said he looked at me in almost disbelief and said, is that who you work for? And I said, well, yeah, why? And he said, oh my God, he goes, this is like a dream come true. He goes, is there any way you could change your presentation around so that you're talking about Aston Martin and careers and jobs to share with these young people? And I said, well, I'm sure we could do something. And I did some digging around, and there wasn't really that much information around, so I put a bit of a presentation together. And we did a couple of sessions with the kids, and again, it was so well received. And again, the word got out really quick, and the local STEM office contacted me and said, Val, look, we know about this work that you do. There's a lot of requests that we're getting. You know, are you able to spread yourself out? Are there teams of people? I said, well, no, they're just me. And they said, so look, what can we do to help you? And I said, well, to be honest, I could do some support with the admin side. And so with a bit of effort, they registered me as a STEM ambassador. That basically means you need to get yourself CRB checked, a little bit of training and guidance on where to go, where not to go, what things to say and that sort of thing. And before I knew it, I was just doing this on a regular basis. And the ironic thing is, not for 1 minute did I ever think that I'd be doing this role for so long. The plan was just to do, a few school visits and, a lot of happy kids, great, But I think it's one of those things when you start to, before you knew it, it's like 1 year's gone by, 2 years gone by, you start to enjoy it. And great things happen. Many doors open for you. You're much more aware of what the needs of young people, and how to help them.
Right. Actually, that's what happened with me. I've been doing it for 5 years, and it's only this year that I've actually stopped.
Really, right.
Because after 5 years, when I first started doing them, I really enjoyed doing them, and the kids' questions were great, especially because when they come to the Gurdwara, they're innocent. So they look at everything as if it's all fascinating. Even running the tap water, they think it's holy water. Yeah. So if you've got a carpet in the Gurdwara, which we do as opposed to churches, they sort of say, oh, is this a special type of carpet you have? Right. I think it's really great to look at religion through the eyes of a child.
Definitely, without a doubt.
But one of the awards that you did get, the most recent award, was regarding you as a STEM ambassador at the House of Lords. What was that in aid of then?
Because STEMnet is set up by the Department of Trade and Industry, and it's to encourage different areas within the UK to recruit ambassadors, and majority of them will work on a voluntary basis. And the idea here was to have a particular event where they wanted to recognise people who do this type of work. So I received some notification to say I've been nominated as a finalist. So I received this lovely sort of gold-lined invitation to go to the House of Lords and to be recognised in front of MPs, Lords and peers. So, when you grew up in London and you see the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben and all these wonderful buildings, and you think, wow, I've actually received an invitation to go to one of these places. And obviously I'm beaming from ear to ear, but there's a great level of excitement. And so with the event, once we got in, it was several people in there, VIPs, etc. And it was actually Lord Sainsbury in there as well, who was doing the initial presentation. And I was then awarded as one of the top 3 STEM ambassadors in the country.
Okay, let me, one of the things that you've done is you've been invited as a guest speaker with Nick Clegg.
Yes.
What was that? How did you find Nick Clegg by, being the Deputy Prime Minister?
Again, as I was saying earlier, with this type of role and, with us being as part of Aston Martin, everyone wants, loves the brand and there's something to do with it. If there's an opportunity, something will happen. And it was actually initiated by our design director, Marek Reichman. He had a colleague who was setting up this a particular event in London where they're introduced by the government as inspiring the future. And it's based on STEM ambassadors, and the difference is they just want more people doing it. And the idea is they want anyone who's working in a professional environment to be encouraged to go to schools and share their ideas about what they do, how they got there, what types of jobs are actually available, just to help, with this realignment between what young people are learning and the actual jobs that are actually there. And I think there's a big issue at the moment. There's a lot of young people aren't aware of what type of jobs are actually available. You ask a typical teenager, 16, 17, 18-year-old, and they may say, well, I'm really not sure what I want to do with my career. And the idea there is these professionals are going to schools and sending across that message. And I was identified as a role model to stand up, and as a guest speaker to stand up on stage and talk with these other VIPs. So Nick Clegg was he was the main speaker there. I was stood next to Joanna Lumley, the actress, and there were several other people. In fact, I almost felt that I didn't belong on this stage with all these other celebrities. I felt like I was the odd one out. But no, it was an incredible experience.
Okay, and before we move on to look at some of the cars here, I want to ask you about, you were nominated for the finalists for the Olympic torchbearer. So you didn't nominate yourself, did you?
No, it's not the sort of thing you do. I mean, if you could, you probably want to win it. Again, purely through this STEM role, people recognise the work you do. And at the time, I think there was a number of information went out, bulletins went out to across the UK for people, general run-of-the-mill public, to nominate anyone that they see as an inspirational role model. And there's loads of people over the years that within the company and within the community, whether it's schools or headmasters or councillors or whatever, know the work that I've been involved with. And I think particularly with the Aston Martin brand as well, because once we do these sort of visits, they don't forget who we are, and they just want you to come back again the following year. And with that in mind, the various people obviously filled in the online application. And then I received a notification, I think it was in August, year before the Olympics to say, you know, I've been put forward for a nomination, and I'll find out by January of last year, January 2011, January 2012, that whether I've actually become one of the finalists. And from the finalists, they were going to choose who were going to actually carry the Olympic torch in the relay. So yeah, when I received a notification, that was, you know, wow. And it was an email from Lord Coe to say congratulations, you know, fantastic achievement. You know, we need people like you to do this this type of work. But yeah, there was a lot of excitement, and you know, I shared that information with our managers and our directors, and it was great. So I didn't actually get to carry the actual torch on the day,
right,
but I think it was great to receive that recognition.
No, and to be honest with you, there were a couple of people that were from the Sikh background, like Fauja Singh. There was also a young girl who was a hockey player. So there were a number of people that were nominated, and actually some of them got through. So yes. I think it was really nice for the Sikh community to think that, oh yes, we're holding the torch for Great Britain.
Yeah.
So okay, let's. I was reading the Aston Martin magazine that comes out every quarterly, and you've appeared in there under Returning to His Roots.
Yes.
And it was quite interesting that your roots were not India. No. In the article. So what do you think your roots are then?
So obviously being born in the UK, you know, I say to myself, my roots are, you know, in the UK, and I was born in London. I'm of Asian origin. We call ourselves British Asians, I guess. Yeah, really my roots were, the headline for that was because I've gone back to my former school. And how that came about was, it was actually a link through the House of Lords Award, because there was a gentleman who worked there who knew someone who worked in the council area where this request came up to say, we want to encourage more young people to understand careers in STEM subjects, you know, so we need a STEM ambassador. And the chap said, well, actually, I know a guy, because I met him at this recent award ceremony. And but the only problem is, you know, they're miles away from me. I don't know whether he'd come back this far. So a random request came my way from our local STEMnet office. And I normally just look up the postcode and said, yeah, that's about an hour and a half's distance driving. So yeah, we should be able to do that. And I didn't give it any more thought. And a couple of months before the visit, and I looked at the more details about where this school was, and I realized it was actually my former school. And so yeah, I mean, I'd actually left that school in July 81 and went back there 30 years to the date. So, which was fantastic, you know, it was one of the most sort of rewarding and humbling experiences, I think, you know, going back there, and especially to go there as a role model to tell young kids, you know what, one day I was at this school, you know, I was learning just like you guys are, but look what I've done with my career. You know, I think, like a lot of people say, you could have done better at school. I think I probably could have done better, but I think that just because, you know, no matter what you do in school, doesn't mean to say you need to stop working hard at whatever you want to do. You can, you know, your world's your oyster. And I've now gone into the job of my dreams, and I'm there to share that knowledge with these young people. No,
and to be honest with you, I think it's nice for people that have done well to go back to schools to be role models. And I think it's a prime example. Because people forget about you. So I want to move on to talk to you about some Aston Martins. I couldn't really have come here and not talk about any of the Aston Martins. And one that we want to talk about is, let's walk over to it, which is the 177, which I don't think most people have even heard about.
Right.
So let's go and walk over to this car and have a look. Yeah. Okay, so Balaraj, let's talk about the 177, this particular car. Now, first of all, why is it called 177?
Yeah, so the project was based on an idea at a very top level of the company to have like a supercar project, which is one project, but there was only going to be 77 cars, so that's the model name 177. So that's how it derived its name.
So what is this, a V12? What?
No, this actually is our standard cars can be either a V8 or a 6-litre V12. This is actually a 7.5-litre, 750 brake horse, 0 to 60 just over 3 seconds, and top speed of about 220 miles per hour. So it's a very, very powerful machine.
So what is the price of this car? I'm assuming most people can't afford this car. I mean, and I didn't see it in the latest James Bond movie.
Yes, it's actually, a majority of our cars do tend to be fairly pricey, because it's the nature of the cars. They are all hand-built, they're all pieced together, and they're all using the very best engineering materials, and just to emphasise that craftsmanship theme. But this car actually sells for £1.2 million.
So they're all hand built.
That's right, yes.
There was that, not a myth, but there was that story that the engineer used to sign the engine. Is that still correct?
Yeah, we used to. There was, I think it was back in the DB7 days, about 10, 12 years ago, where the engine was actually, the name was etched on the plate, on the engine bay. But we still actually do that now, but it's actually under the bonnet. But it's the final inspector who gets to have their name etched on that plate, because that's like the last piece of the car that we're going to attach to it. So that person has his name laser etched on that vehicle.
Oh, you still do that then?
We still do that.
Okay.
Some traditions, I think, are destined not to ever change.
One thing it hasn't got a handle on the car. So how does someone open this? I mean, you know, how do you open the door on this car?
Yes, so a lot of our designs are produced using this literally a flush design, so that's not an obvious grabber handle. The idea here is that you literally put your thumb where the slots are.
Right.
This car is actually locked, but this handle will pop out, you grab it and it simply opens the door. So it's literally basically like a flush design, and similar to a concept here, for example, with the wing mirror. You know, it's how do we actually engineer something like this all out of one piece of material.
Okay, coming to the back of it then, it's, I mean, one thing that I've not seen on the back is where the exhausts of this car, they seem to be all facing down, all four of them.
Yes, there's, obviously it's a very powerful machine. You know, there's a lot of engine power that's got to be exhausted out somehow, so you don't want to be blurting it all out in the car behind, so there's a natural sort of downflow to make sure, you know, it's emitted in the correct way. But we also have this unique design on the rear with this carbon structure, just to give it emphasize this real sort of monstrosity sort of look. You know, it's a very powerful beast, and yeah, it's a very low, very wide car.
Okay, but so the Aston Martin's been basically cut in half. So what's the purpose of doing this? Just showing someone what it looks like inside, from a chassis point of view?
Exactly that. So this is based on our four-door, four-seater model, which is called the Rapide. And the idea here is to show customers and the VIPs, you know, what's actually underneath the skin. Because often we see a lot of cars, you know, from the outside and the interior, you've got to see what actually goes on in the structure. So we get many questions about, you know, how do we design our cars, you know, what's the engineering involved. You know, this allows us to get up close, and there's a lot of work gone into producing this model, and we'll use this purely as a look and see, you know, this is something we can do, or this is something how we produce this, and something whether we need to improve on something for a future model. So we do use something like this as a concept to develop ideas.
Yeah, it looks neat. I mean, it's nice to see it cut up like this so that people can get an idea of it.
Yeah, it's certainly not something we would sell. Like I said, it's only a show and tell type of thing. But obviously, it's quite bare in its essentials. But it's always humbling to see something that's been, you know, the whole jigsaw put together, and see, you know, where it all fits and how it fits. You know, we do a lot of work on CAD on the screen, and when you see it all put together and cut away like this, it's always good to see.
Okay, let's move on to our last car that you've got here in this particular showroom. Is this red one? Which Aston Martin is this?
So this is our latest model, which is the Vanquish. This was shown to the world media last summer, and it's almost like our showcase vehicle now. It sells for 190,000. It's got a 6-litre V12. And there's a lot of new technology gone in this car. There's a lot of use of carbon fibre. You can see around the front end, on the roof, on the rear. We've got carbon fibre mirrors, side strakes, and the interior concept is completely different. So it's virtually an all-new car for us, and it's now become the benchmark vehicle. And as I say, you know, we're starting to get some good orders for this vehicle now.
So when you're making them by hand, because it's not a production car, surely there's a limit of how many you can make.
Yes, there is. You know, because our cars are actually hand built, as you say. You know, typically, you know, our cycle time, or our tack time, if you like, is only 30 minutes every time a car moves from one station to the other. And it requires a group of technicians to build up the car up to a certain level, and then all the bells and whistles sound. They grab their tools, they move away on the side, and then the car moves to the next station. So in other words, we roughly produce one Aston Martin every 30 minutes or so. So typically our volumes per year are only something like about 4,000 or 5,000. And so we can produce up to about 10,000 cars, but at the moment about 4 and 5 is what we're producing.